want you to say the day of the week you were born. Out loud if you can, just say it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just that one word. You just invoked the name of your planetary guardian, and you have been doing it every single day of your life without knowing. The name of that day, the word you just said, is not neutral. It is not arbitrary. It is not a bureaucratic label inherited from some forgotten calendar committee. It is the encoded name of a planetary deity, and that deity has a specific seal in the grimoire of King Solomon, a seal designed according to the oldest manuscripts of the Key of Solomon to protect the person born under that planet's influence. You were born under one of them, and tonight I'm going to show you which one is yours. Let me show you the archaeology first, because I want you to understand what you are actually holding when you hold a day of the week. 2,500 years ago, the Babylonians created the 7-day planetary week. Not arbitrarily, not for administrative convenience. They looked at the 7 classical planets visible to the naked eye: the Sun, the Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn, and they observed that these 7 planets exert influence on human affairs in a rotating cycle. Each day of the week was assigned to one planet. The day belonged to that planet's deity, and the character of the day, when what it was good for, what it was dangerous for, what it protected, what it threatened, was determined by the nature of that planetary intelligence. This is not mysticism invented in a monastery somewhere. This is the Babylonian astronomical and religious system that gave us the week we still use today. The Romans inherited it. They named the days in Latin: dies solis, dies lunae, dies martis, dies mercurii, dies jovis, dies veneris, dies saturni. Sun's day, Moon's day, Mars's day, Mercury's day, Jupiter's day, Venus's day, Saturn's day. 6 of those 7 Latin names did not survive into English directly. What happened instead is one of the most remarkable moments of cultural translation in the history of the English language. When the Germanic peoples encountered the Roman planetary week around the 4th century of the Common Era, they performed something scholars call interpretatio Germanica. They looked at each Roman planetary deity and said, "We have a god who does that." They replaced the Roman gods with Norse equivalents. Mars, the war god, became Tu. Tuesday is Tuesday. Mercury, the messenger, the traveler, the cunning one, became Woden. Wednesday is Woden's day. Jupiter, the thunder god, the king of the heavens, became Thor. Thursday is Thor's day. The thunder day of Old English, the day of thunder. Both Thor and Jupiter are thunder gods. Both rule over protection, over power, over the expansion of fortune. When the English speaker says Thursday, they are invoking a thunder deity that 2 civilizations independently understood to be the guardian of that day. Venus, the goddess of beauty, fertility, love, became Frigg. Friday is Frigg's day. Sunday remains the sun's day. Monday remains the moon's day. And Saturday. This is the one that should make you pause. Saturday alone kept its Roman name, not a Norse equivalent, not an Anglo-Saxon replacement. The Germanic translators looked at Saturn, the ancient, slow, heavy, authoritative planetary deity, and found no Norse equivalent adequate to replace it. Saturn alone survived the translation into English unchanged. Think about what that tells you. Every other planet was translated. Every other deity was replaced with a local equivalent. Only Saturn, the planet of boundaries, of authority, of divine structure, was considered so singular that no other name would do. Saturday is Saturn's day, directly, without intermediary. And in the Key of Solomon, Saturn has more pentacles assigned to it than any other planet. 7. More than Jupiter. More than Mars. More than the Sun. The tradition that named Saturday after Saturn is the same tradition that gave Saturday-born people the most elaborate and powerful set of seals in the entire grimoire. I need you to hold that thought for a moment, because I want to show you where this planetary week was taken by the tradition that produced Solomon's grimoire. Not the Babylonians, not the Romans, not the Norse, the rabbis. The Talmud, in the Tractate of Shabbat, 156, contains a remarkable passage. Let me give you the precise wording. One who is born under the sun will be One who is born under Venus will be. One who is born under Mercury will be. One who is born under the moon will be. The Talmud, the central text of rabbinic Jewish law and thought, assigns character, fate, and spiritual tendency based on the planet that rules the day of one's birth. This is not a marginal text. This is not the speculation of an eccentric medieval mystic. This is the Tractate Shabbat, one of the most studied, most cited, most authoritative sections of the Babylonian Talmud. And it is doing exactly what the Babylonians did. It is saying, the planet that rules your birthday shapes who you are. Now take the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, compiled between the 3rd and 6th centuries of the Common Era. This text, foundational to the Kabbalistic tradition that underlies much of Solomon's grimoire, creates the chain explicitly. 7 double letters of the Hebrew alphabet, 7 classical planets, 7 days of the week. Each letter maps to a planet. Each planet maps to a day. Each day maps to a divine attribute: wisdom, peace, grace, fertility, wealth, life, dominion. The chain is complete. Hebrew letter, planet, day of the week, divine attribute. And then the key of Solomon takes that chain and makes it wearable. 44 pentacles, distributed across those same 7 planets, each with specific powers. The system is not medieval invention. It is Babylonian astronomy, codified in the Talmud, formalized in Kabbalistic cosmology, and made practically deployable in the grimoires of Solomon. Your birthday is a coordinate in that system, and you have been carrying that coordinate in your language every time you have named the day of the week. Now let me give you the table, because this is the section of the video I want you to stay with. This is where I want you to find yourself. If you were born on a Sunday, Sunday is the sun's day. The key of Solomon assigns 7 pentacles to the sun. The 6th pentacle of the sun is described in the Mather's translation of the Harley manuscript as the one that makes you invisible to your enemies. Not physical invisibility, the invisibility of someone who moves through hostile environments unharmed, undetected, untouched. The 5th pentacle of the sun is described as enabling passage from place to place, the power of movement, of transition, of crossing from one state to another. The 1st pentacle of the sun is the general solar seal, glory, light, authority, the capacity to project power outward. If you are Sunday born, your planetary guardian is the sun itself. The Talmud Shabbat passage describes the sun-born as one who will have nothing hidden from them and nothing hidden about them. Radiance in both directions. Your seal is the one that governs light. If you were born on a Monday, Monday is the moon's day. The key of Solomon assigns 6 pentacles to the moon. The moon is the planet of secrets, of hidden things, of the waters under the surface. The lunar pentacles govern the revealing of things that are concealed. The 1st pentacle of the moon opens what is shut. The 4th pentacle of the moon is described as one that enables its holder to walk on water, meaning in the tradition's own symbolic register, to cross impossible terrain without sinking. The moon is also the planet of protection for travelers, particularly those who travel at night or through uncertain territory. If you are Monday born, you carry the planetary guardian whose power is in the threshold, between seen and unseen, between known and hidden, between what the daylight shows and what only the dark reveals. Your seal is the one that governs what is beneath the surface. If you were born on a Tuesday, Tuesday is Mars's day. Tuesday in Old English, the god of war, of courage, of confrontation. The key of Solomon assigns 7 pentacles to Mars. The Martian pentacles are for protection from enemies, specifically for those who are under active threat, who are facing opposition, who need not merely spiritual protection, but the capacity to resist and to overcome. The 3rd pentacle of Mars is described as one that will cause all the powers of the demons to flee when it is exhibited. The 7th pentacle of Mars is the most dramatic in the entire grimoire. It is said to cause hail, heavy rain, and tempest. The tradition understood Mars's power as something that can call down forces of nature. The Mars seal is for those who need to fight. If you are Tuesday born, your planetary guardian is the warrior. Not the warrior who seeks conflict, the warrior who protects when conflict finds them. Your seal is the one that governs courage under pressure. If you were born on a Wednesday, Wednesday is Mercury's day, Woden's day in Old English. And this is the one that deserves particular attention, because Mercury is the planet of knowledge, of communication, of the hidden paths between things. Woden, the Norse equivalent, was the god of wisdom, of poetry, of the knowledge gained at a price. He sacrificed his eye to gain insight. The key of Solomon assigns 5 pentacles to Mercury. The 5th pentacle of Mercury is described in the grimoire as one that opens all locked doors. Not metaphorically. The text is specific. A person who carries this seal and encounters any locked door, whether physical or otherwise, finds it opened. The Mercury pentacles are for scholars, for those who seek hidden knowledge, for those who find that the world places obstacles before their understanding, and need something that can move past those obstacles. Mercury is also the planet of messengers, of communication that crosses distances. If you are Wednesday born, your planetary guardian is the one who moves between worlds. Your seal is the one that governs the opening of what is closed. If you were born on a Thursday, Thursday is Jupiter's day, Thor's day in Old English. 2 thunder gods, 2 traditions, same planet. The key of Solomon assigns 7 pentacles to Jupiter, and the Jupiterian pentacles are, in the language of the grimoire, the most expansive. The 2nd pentacle of Jupiter is for the acquisition of glory, of honors, of riches, and the confirmation of the dignity and elevation of those who carry it. The 6th pentacle of Jupiter is described as affording protection from all earthly dangers. All earthly dangers, not a specific threat, not a specific enemy. All of them. The Talmud Shabbat passage on Jupiter describes the Jupiter-born as those who will be just and upright. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, of abundance, of the divine favor that overflows. If you are Thursday-born, your planetary guardian is the king of the heavens. Your seal is the one that governs abundance and protection from the world. If you were born on a Friday, Friday is Venus's day, Frigg's day in Old English. The key of Solomon assigns 5 pentacles to Venus. The Venusian pentacles govern love, friendship, the attraction of what you desire, and the protection of existing bonds. The 4th pentacle of Venus is described in the grimoire as highly effective for exciting love and for creating friendship where there was coldness or distance. The 5th pentacle of Venus is for those who desire to establish a specific bond, a relationship, a partnership, a connection that will hold. Venus is also the planet of beauty in the ancient tradition, not merely physical beauty, but the kind of beauty that draws people toward you without effort, that makes your presence welcome. If you are Friday born, your planetary guardian is the planet of connection. Your seal is the one that governs love and the bonds between people. If you were born on a Saturday, Saturday is Saturn's day. And I said I would come back to this one, because Saturn is the one that demands the most explanation. The key of Solomon assigns 7 pentacles to Saturn, more than any other planet. And look at what those 7 pentacles do. The 1st pentacle of Saturn is for calling up spirits and binding them. The 2nd is for protection from the spirits called up. The 3rd is for the protection of the bearer against any enemy who attempts to cause harm. The 4th pentacle of Saturn is described as useful for the protection against all earthly dangers, and specifically against poverty, against affliction, against the slow grinding harm that is not dramatic, but relentless. The 6th and 7th pentacles of Saturn are for binding those who would cause harm, not destroying, binding. Saturn's power is the power of limits, of boundaries, of the thing that cannot be crossed. In the Kabbalistic tradition, Saturn corresponds to divine authority itself, to the attribute of Binah. Understanding that is so complete, it creates the structure through which everything else flows. The Talmud Shabbat describes the Saturn-born as those who will see and not profit, or who will profit in what others destroy. The paradox of the person who lives at the boundary between abundance and restriction, and who learns to work with that tension. And the Saturday Sabbath is not coincidence. In both the Jewish tradition and the Solomonic Kabbalistic framework, Saturday is the day of rest, because Saturn is the planet of divine completion. The day of rest is under the planetary guardian with the most seals. If you are Saturday born, you carry the most elaborate planetary protection in the entire system. Your seal is the one that governs divine authority and the binding of what would harm you. I have been sitting with this material for almost 30 years, and the part that I still have not entirely made peace with is the convergence, not the historical connections. Those I can trace. Babylon to Rome to Germanic peoples to English weekday names. That chain is documented, verified, available to anyone who wants to look it up. What I cannot fully explain is what happened on the other side of the world. I was at SOAS in London. I was 29, 30 years old, still a student, still convinced that my job was to accumulate references rather than to understand what they were actually saying. It was a graduate seminar on African traditional spiritual systems. The professor was a Ghanaian scholar, and one of the other students, a man named Kwame, older than most of us in his mid-30s from Kumasi, said something in the middle of a discussion about the Akan naming tradition. He said it as though it were obvious, as though everyone in the room would already know this. He said, "My name tells you the day I was born." He explained it briefly, almost as an aside. The Akan people, the Ashanti, the Fante, the people of the forest kingdoms of what is now Ghana, give children a kradin at birth, a soul name. And the soul name is determined entirely by the day of the week on which the child is born. Kwame is the name of the Saturday-born child. He said, "My grandmother told me that Saturday children carry the weight of the Sabbath, that it is not a burden, that it is armor." And then he said something I have thought about many times since. He said, in our tradition, the Saturday-born are the closest to God, the most exalted. Kwame Nkrumah, the father of Ghanaian independence, was born on a Saturday. In our understanding, that was not coincidence. I went home that evening. I opened the Mather's translation of the Key of Solomon, a book I had read at least 3 times before, and I turned to the Saturn section. 7 pentacles, more than any other planet. All of them focused on binding, on protection from affliction, on proximity to divine authority. I wrote in the margin of my copy, the Akan grandmother was working from the same system as the grimoire. She didn't borrow it. She derived it. And then I looked up from the page and asked myself for the first time a question that should have occurred to me years earlier. What day of the week was I born? What is my seal? Let me give you the full Akan table, because if you have any family connection to Ghana, to West Africa, to the Akan tradition, or if you simply want to see what 2 completely independent systems looked like when they arrived at the same answer, this is extraordinary. Sunday, Kwesi for boys, Akosua for girls. The Sunday-born soul is expansive, solar, drawn outward. The Akan Sunday name carries the spirit of the sun, which is exactly what the Solomonic pentacles of the sun govern. Radiance, authority, the outward projection of power. Monday, Kojo for boys, Adwala for girls. The Monday-born soul is described in the tradition as peaceful, thoughtful, inward. The moon's domain in the Solomonic system is the hidden world, the undersurface, the place where things are revealed to the patient. Tuesday, Kobe for boys, Abina for girls. The Tuesday-born soul is associated with the ocean, intensity, depth, the power that moves in currents beneath the surface. Mars, in the Solomonic system, governs the capacity to resist, to withstand, to fight when necessary. Wednesday, Kweku for boys, Aqua for girls. The Wednesday-born soul is associated in Akan tradition with Anansi, the spider, the trickster, the master of stories and hidden paths. Mercury in the Solomonic system is the planet that opens locked doors. I'm going to let you sit with that parallel for a moment. The Akan Wednesday soul is Anansi's. The Solomonic Mercury pentacle opens doors. 2 traditions. No contact, same day, same quality. Same Thursday, Yor for boys, Ya for girls. The Thursday-born soul is associated with the earth itself. Groundedness, stability, the capacity to hold. Jupiter in the Solomonic system governs abundance and protection from all earthly dangers. Friday, Kofi for boys, Afia for girls. The Friday-born soul is associated with fertility, with adventure, with the forward movement of life. Venus in the Solomonic system governs love, connection, and the attraction of what you desire. Saturday, Kwame for boys, Ama for girls. The Saturday-born soul is described in the Akan tradition as the Lord of life's satisfaction, directly associated with God, the most spiritually elevated position in the entire naming system. And in the Solomonic system, as I have already told you, Saturday is the planet with 7 pentacles, more than any other, the planet of divine authority and the binding of harm. The Akan people of Ghana and the Solomonic Kabbalistic tradition of ancient Israel both placed their highest spiritual authority under the same planetary guardian, without any contact between them, without any shared manuscript tradition, without translation. Both looked at the same sky on the same day and arrived at the same answer. I want to say something to the viewer who is watching this and already knows the Akan naming tradition from their own family. You probably already know your Kradin. If your grandmother named you Kwame, she was not performing a cultural formality. She was assigning you to a planetary guardian. She was doing exactly what the Key of Solomon prescribes, identifying the celestial intelligence associated with your day of birth and acknowledging your relationship to it. The tradition she was working from and the tradition that produced Solomon's grimoire were never separate traditions. They were the same tradition expressed in 2 different languages on 2 different continents. Your grandmother was reading from the same book as Solomon. She just didn't have the manuscript. Now let me tell you how to find your seal. 5 steps. None of them require anything you cannot do right now. Step 1. Determine the day of the week you were born. Most people know this. If you do not, any calendar lookup will give it to you in 30 seconds. Type your full birth date into any search engine and ask what day of the week it was. Step 2. Identify your planetary ruler from the table I have just given you. Sunday, Sun. Monday, Moon. Tuesday, Mars. Wednesday, Mercury. Thursday, Jupiter. Friday, Venus. Saturday, Saturn. Step 3. Go to the Key of Solomon, specifically the section on pentacles for your planet. The Mathers translation is available freely online. The full title is The Key of Solomon the King, translated by Samuel Liddell MacGregor Mathers, published in 1889. Any search for Key of Solomon pentacles with your planet's name will bring you to the relevant seals. The first pentacle of your planet is the General Protective Seal. It is the one that carries the broadest protection under your planetary guardian's authority. If you have a specific need, protection from enemies, the opening of closed doors, the attraction of love, the binding of harm, read through all the pentacles for your planet. The descriptions in the Mathers translation are direct. The grimoire does not obscure what each seal does. Step 4. Obtain the seal. The tradition of the Key of Solomon is clear on this. The seal is to be drawn by hand, on clean paper or parchment, using the diagram provided in the grimoire. The diagram for each pentacle is given in the original text. You draw it yourself. The drawing is not merely symbolic reproduction. In the Solomonic tradition, the act of drawing the seal by hand with intention is itself part of the activation. You are not printing a protective image. You are creating a physical carrier of the planetary intelligence associated with your birth. Step 5. The optimal time to create and carry the seal. The Key of Solomon specifies this with precision. The seal is to be made on the day and in the planetary hour of your planet. In practice, this means make the seal on the day of the week you were born, during the first hour after sunrise. For most people, that means if you were born on a Thursday, draw the seal on the next Thursday morning. The tradition describes this as the time when the planetary intelligence is most accessible, when the same planetary field that was active at your birth is active again. After creating it, carry it with you. Not displayed, carried, in a pocket, in a wallet, in something that stays near your body. The Key of Solomon describes the seal as a living object, something that maintains its function through proximity to the person it protects. And now I want to say something that I have been building toward since the beginning. This is not about whether you believe in planetary intelligences as literal beings. It is not about whether you understand the Babylonian gods, who created this system as real gods or as astronomical archetypes. It is not about mysticism or magic in any sense that requires you to abandon your rational mind. Here is what I know from almost 30 years of working with these texts. The Babylonian astronomers who created the 7-day planetary week were among the most rigorous observational scientists in the ancient world. Their astronomical records, preserved in cuneiform tablets, are accurate to a degree that continue to inform astronomical calculations into the 20th century. The Talmudic rabbis, who assigned character and fate by birth planet, were serious legal and philosophical minds operating within a tradition that prized intellectual precision above almost everything else. The Kabbalistic scholars who built the chain of Hebrew letters to planets, to days, to divine attributes, were engaged in what they understood as the systematic study of divine architecture. And the Akan grandmothers who named their children by birthday were transmitting a system that had been tested and refined across generations too numerous to count. All of them were observing the same thing: that the moment of a person's arrival into this world is not neutral, that there is a planetary field active at birth, that the field has a character, and that the character can be worked with. Your tradition and Solomon's tradition were never separate. Whether you find that tradition in the Hebrew Bible, in the Quran, in the Talmud, in the Akan naming system of Ghana, or in the weekday name your parents taught you before you could read, it is the same tradition. You have been carrying the name of your planetary guardian in your mouth every time you have named the day of the week. Every Thursday you have spoken in your life, you were invoking Jupiter. Every Saturday you have spoken, you were invoking divine authority. Every Monday, the moon. Every Wednesday, the opener of locked doors. The name has been in your mouth your whole life. It is time to carry the seal itself. There is one more thing I wrote in the margins of my Key of Solomon that evening at Soas, after I had found my planet. After I had read for the first time with personal stakes rather than academic distance, the pentacles that belonged specifically to my birthday. I wrote, the ancient world took the birthday seriously, not as an occasion for celebration, but as a coordinate, as a precise location in a cosmic field, as the answer to the question, what protective intelligence was present at the moment of your arrival. We have lost that understanding. We celebrate the date and ignore the day. We cut the cake and forget the seal. I do not know what it means philosophically that every tradition that looked at this question carefully arrived at the same architecture. I am still not entirely sure what to make of the fact that Kwame and I were sitting in the same seminar room at SOS, and that a Ghanaian grandmother and a Hebrew manuscript tradition had both placed the highest spiritual authority under Saturn's guardianship without any contact between them. But I know what I did that evening. I found my planet. I read every pentacle assigned to it, and I drew the first one. By hand on a Tuesday evening. My birthday falls on a Tuesday, though I will not tell you which planet that makes mine, because I want you to find your own. I drew it and I carried it. What you do with this is up to you. But the system exists. It has existed since Babylon. It is preserved in the Talmud, in the Sefer Yetzirah, in the Key of Solomon, in the Akan naming tradition of Ghana, and in the very language you are hearing right now. You were not born into randomness. You were born into a planetary field that Solomon mapped, the Akan preserved, and the Babylonians encoded into every language on Earth. Say the day of the week you were born again. Really hear it this time. That word is your coordinate. Find the seal. Sleep well tonight. Or perhaps spend the evening drawing it.